everyone, welcome back to the Shinah Show. Okay, so I am super excited for today's episode because I want to talk about calligraphy in this episode. I know in the last episode I talked a lot about how I explored so many different creative things before I found calligraphy. So some of you might be wondering, why? What was it about calligraphy? Why is that what captured you and set you on this path? Because I want to find that too, you know? Some of you might be thinking that. So I did want to talk about this, but as usual, I'm going to break it up into parts for you. And I want to address it in these three sort of parts, phases of my life, because I think that's the best way to sort of draw a comparison between those. So part one is how I approached creativity, how it felt for me before I quit law. Part two is how creativity felt for me after I quit. And then part three is now that I found calligraphy, how is creativity for me? So part one, phase one, whatever you want to call it, before I quit law and I was trying to get creativity in my life, I feel like this is gonna sound familiar for so many of you because I've talked to a lot of you and the story sounds familiar. I was yearning for some sort of creative expression in my life. I was a corporate securities lawyer, often working 12-hour days or longer, and just had very little creative choice in my own life. So I really, really wanted that. And I would sort of go out groping desperately looking for it. But what ended up happening was I would get really into some sort of craft, like say jewelry making. I'd go buy all these things for jewelry making, you know, be really into it for a little while and then kind of lose interest and stuff all those jewelry making supplies into this closet I had in the hallway and kind of be done with that and forget about it. And then I'd find the next thing and get really into that, buy some supplies, lose interest, stuff that into my closet. Soon that closet became just a guilt-inducing shame zone. Just, I know there's a lot of stuff in there. I spent a lot of money. I spent a lot of time. Nothing really came out of it. I'm not any happier. I don't feel like I'm any more of a creative person. That's kind of how a lot of my creative endeavors went before I quit law. So that's stage one. Let me know in a review and comments in my Instagram if that feels familiar to you. Phase two is after I quit law and I went exploring creatively on purpose. This felt different to me, even though I was doing on the surface pretty much the same thing as before. I was getting into different creative crafts. I was investing money. I would pay for a watercolor workshop or a woodworking workshop or a creative writing seminar. I was investing, and a lot of times nothing really came of it. I am not a woodworker. I have the first thing that I made from that woodworking workshop. It's great. I still have it, but you know, I'm not going to be a woodworker anytime soon. A lot of those things just kind of didn't pan out. And I did buy a lot of supplies and kind of didn't end up using them again. But here's why it felt different. It felt like I was exploring on purpose. I gave myself that permission. I knew that I was looking for something and that this was the way that I had to do it. I wasn't going to find what I wanted creatively, what was perfect for me, just by sitting on my couch and thinking about it, right? So I was willing and I had that mindset of this is exploration. I'm going to learn from this and none of it's ever going to be a waste. So that was part two. Part three is now that I have found calligraphy and I am a full-time creative entrepreneur and I do something creative every day, creativity feels different here too. After I found calligraphy and I knew I wanted to start a creative business out of it. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to make something of it. What most people feel like they're looking for in a creative craft, what they hope to find, it was a real sense of purpose. And I want to get to a certain place, very driven, very focused. And I'm going to practice every day and I'm going to see my improvement and I am going to really work towards something. And calligraphy and creativity felt really flowy and natural. Now that I have built up my business and I'm in year 6 of running my business, creativity has shifted a little bit for me too. Calligraphy has become a little bit more of my work, and true creativity I find in other places. But here's where I'm going to draw the parallels and how I see these 3 different parts and phases and what that might mean for you. The common thread that I see throughout is purpose. When I was still a lawyer and I was exploring all these different creative things, the things that felt the most focused and meaningful and in flow and happy for me were the creative projects that had a very particular purpose to them. When I was making paper flowers for my sister's wedding, I was really focused on that craft. Nothing felt like a waste. I knew I had a goal in mind. It was going to be important for my sister's wedding. I really believed in it, and it really drove me. Other things that I felt like didn't really have a purpose to them, like how much jewelry made out of chains could I make for myself, those I tended to lose interest in. And in phase 2, similarly, there was a real sense of purpose there. I knew that I was exploring for a particular reason, and that was to learn and really find where I wanted to go. So again, there was a sense of purpose there. And then calligraphy, for sure, there was a deep sense of purpose. And I think that really drives the passion there for me. The purpose is building up this business. It's sharing it with other people. It's getting more and more people to try calligraphy and get really good at it and for it to change their lives. And I've seen it happen, and it really drives me. Purpose is the common thread there. And for me specifically, calligraphy was and is the perfect creative vehicle for 2 reasons: boundaries and practicality. Boundaries is, if you think about it, calligraphy is just like writing. It has all the meaning, all the symbolism of writing. You can write amazing poetry and communicate, but it has to be legible at the end of the day. It's meant to be read. So there are really strict boundaries, but within those boundaries, for example, the shape of a letter A, being able to read that as a letter A, you can really express yourself. And that was very exciting to me, because if you gave me a blank canvas and said, just like, go ahead and oil paint, I would not know where to start. I mean, I think that a lot of you can relate. That's why paint by numbers is so popular. Coloring books, even, wine and paint, where you follow the exact steps, right? Boundaries. I need some boundaries with my creative expression. And then the second thing is that it's practical. Calligraphy is so practical. You'd be so amazed once you know how to do calligraphy, how many people come out of the woodwork and say, oh my God, can you write my baby's name for me? Can you do some place cards for me? Can you make this family tree more special? There's just so many uses for it that you never really think of before you get into it. So it's just infinitely practical, and it can be used for so much purpose. And I think that's why, in the end, calligraphy was the thing. After all that exploration I did, calligraphy was the thing I really stuck to and have practiced almost every single day for almost 6 years now. So if you're floundering, searching, wanting more creativity in your life, and nothing seems to stick, and it all seems to be guilt-inducing and not fulfilling in the way that you want, maybe there's something missing there. Maybe you're not just looking for creativity, full stop. Maybe you are looking for creativity with a sense of purpose, with some sort of mission attached. It doesn't have to be a save humanity, huge, mind-blowing mission. It can be as simple as giving beautiful things to the people that I love. And I think that that's why my program, Modern Calligraphy 101, gets such amazing results. I teach students how to do pointed pen modern calligraphy. It's a very technical craft, but it gets such amazing results because my students feel such a bigger sense of purpose in what they're learning. My students aren't just in the program focused on how to master an underturn stroke, for example. That can drive you for a little bit, but it can get boring really quickly, right? Especially if you're practicing that over and over. Instead, what's really there is this bigger dream for my students of what will that underturn stroke lead to? Once I get really good at this, what possibilities open up for me? Who else can I become? What can I do in my life that's really exciting and different and something that I've never done before? That is the sense of mission and purpose that like really fuels creativity in a way that other forms of creative expression might not. In a way that just kind of trying things randomly, creative things randomly with sort of no guidance and no purpose, that might not be cutting it, and this might be why. If you're yearning for creativity and things just aren't cutting it, maybe what you're looking for is purpose. And once you know that, awesome, because you know then what you're looking for. You have a bit of a better idea. And then you can go out and find it and maybe change the trajectory of your whole life, or feel a little bit happier and relaxed and focused and in flow each day. That's kind of what all of us want in the end, right? So now that you know that, and maybe you can go out and look for it, I hope that you will. I hope you don't give up on creativity. I hope you get curious about what is it that you're really looking for out of that creativity. And I really hope you find it. So stay on that crooked creative path, find that creative purpose. Thanks for listening, everyone. Hey, if you're interested in calligraphy, I have a free resource I really want to share with you. Calligraphy completely changed my life, and if you've ever been interested in learning it, it could totally change yours too. I know that sounds like an exaggeration, but I've seen it happen for so many of my students. So if you're interested in learning calligraphy and you'd like to learn it with me, because you like my style and you like the Shinah Show, I really want you to check out my free Introduction to Calligraphy workshop. It's absolutely free. You can sign up and learn in about an hour some really essential tricks and tips for getting started with point-to-pen calligraphy, how I teach calligraphy and the framework that I use for my students, and how you can learn with me if that's what you want to do. This free workshop is at freecalligraphyworkshop.com. Super easy, freecalligraphyworkshop.com. Hope to see you in the training.